Welcome back to Ride JBI. I'm JB. Today we finished up our first JBI spec revalve on this Triumph 450-RC edition. Check out some previous videos of us testing out the bike and getting a good feel for it before we did our revalve on it. But this video is about to give you guys some tips on how to remove and remount the rear shock on the bike. Now, if you're used to removing shocks on some Japanese bikes, it's pretty similar to that. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to go ahead and do that. So what we ended up doing was we removed all the subframe bolts. On the subframe, you have 3 bolts. You got 2 lower subframe bolts, which are Loctited in, and then you have 1 long subframe bolt that goes all the way through. That allowed us to have some wiggle room with the subframe. The other item that we had to do was we actually had to loosen the air boot so we could disconnect it from the throttle body. That gave us a lot of room as well. The reason for that is you have to disconnect it in order to get the shock bolt to come out. If not, the bolt's going to interfere with some plastics of the air boot and it won't come out. Another item that we did that you may not have to do was we removed the lower linkage arm. The reason for that was this is our first time removing the shock. So we like to remove sometimes more items than necessary. So that way we know we can safely remove the shock without scratching up or damaging any components. But next time we go ahead, we'll definitely be leaving on the linkage arm. So beyond that, we also removed the muffler on the bike as well. And the way we pulled the shock out was from the right side of the bike. Now, another tip that I got from my coworker was that the muffler bolts are 2 different lengths. So keep note of that when you go ahead and remount the muffler to the bike. Overall, it's a pretty easy bike to work on. It has very similar, let's say, wiring underneath the seat on top of the subframe as the KTM's. And in terms of the chassis and the subframe layout, I'd say it's very similar to those Yamaha YZ models. A lot of you would recognize this frame and say, hey, that's very similar to the Yamahas. Yes, it is. And the subframe setup is as well. The key differentiator on these is going to be the Torx bolts. They use a lot of Torx. They're Torx 45 for a lot of them. A 40 will fit, but it's not going to fit as precise as you want it to, especially when you're applying a high load of torque to those bolts. So that's how we went about and got this off. Stay tuned to our channel because next we go take this bike out. We're going to ride it with the owner, get some feedback from him, and continue our continuous development of improving this new Triumph 450 RC edition.